to hit the driver right here in the center of the face on that kisser.
Hello.
Believe it or not, the last thing you want to do is focus on the ball.
Zanotti on 18.
Oh, no, that is, Richard, I have to say.
This is what we've seen.
You want to make the ball a very precise intersection on the way to the target. Let me demonstrate. I give my ball on a string to gravity. Gravity makes a circle. My brain sees where that circle is passing. Bring it in. Brain says a little too high, get lower. So who's hitting that ball? Not me. It's my ball on a string. Well, what's the difference? The club head's attached to the shaft, which is attached to a solid grip. We're not going to talk about that today, but you really need a solid grip to have good drives. And then that's attached to your shoulder sockets. And that's going to make circles. So now that we know where that circle is going to happen, we just need to see where it's going to pass and where the low point of that circle is going to pass. And there's a couple of things that are going to play tricks on your eyes that you need to look out for, and it'll make the biggest difference between you hitting the toe of the club or the center of that club face. And that's going to mean more distance and a lot more accuracy with that driver. Let's get to it. I ask so many of my students when they first come and see me, do you know where that club is passing in your practice swing? And many of them say, no, I have no idea where it's passing. Well, how are you supposed to predict what part of the club is going to hit the ball when you don't know where it's going to pass? So get yourself some electric tape, either some yellow or some white electric tape, and put it right over the crown of that club, right down the middle of that club head. This is actually legal as long as you don't put any on the face of the club. This is straight from the USGA. So, right there, I have a nice line going through the center of my club head. Now, I'm going to swing it back and through without stopping, and I'm going to observe the blur. Hey, I see a nice yellow streak passing right here. So now I bring that in. So if I do a few above the tee, I can see from my end that the yellow is passing right over the tee. So for many of you, this is going to feel like you're in the heel of the club. Well, you'll notice that the crown of your club is situated right in the center of the face. But if you look at the top of the club head, you'll notice that that's more toward the heel than the center of the head itself. So it's really important that you realize the way the club is designed, the TaylorMades, the COBRAs, the Callaways are all designed that way. Even the pings, you're going to see the turbulators are lined up in a way that that center of mass is a little more toward the heel. So if you're trying to put the ball in the center of the club head, you're constantly going to hit it off the toe. And if you hit it off the toe, you're going to get a gear effect that's going to make it turn to the left. Like the barrel of a rifle of a hunter. You have two sights sitting on top of that barrel. And you need those two sights to be very accurate with your target. The barrel of your rifle is the blur of the club. And from there, we need to go through the tee and the left edge of that intermediate point here. So I always have an intermediate point in front. You have the luxury of pegging your tee where you want to off the tee box, so make sure you peg it behind a divot that's going to lead you to the part of the fairway that you want to hit. So if I'm going to play a little fade here, I'm going to go over the left half of that ball right there, right between that and that little yellow ball fragment. And I'm going to plug the barrel of my rifle down that line. Now that makes the ball a very precise intersection on the way. So my eyes are on the tee, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cause the tee to somersault into the direction that I want to start that ball. So you saw that beautiful somersaulting action from that tee. Now when I play the ball on the tee, the ball can't prevent me from executing the same thing. It's just going to slow me down a smidge. So if I stay with that task, the blur of my club through the tip of the tee in that direction, we're going to have some magic. So I peg my tee so I can go over the left edge of that intermediate point. Now I'm going to match up the blur of that club through the tip of that tee. And I'm just going to let momentum deliver through the tip of the tee, left edge of that intermediate point. So I'm just observing now that blur going through there. That will work. That was very solid. Little 280 carry. You can see the contact there was right in the center of that face. Just a hair low on the face, but really quite nice as far as contact. So let me confirm another one like that for you. Left edge of that. See where the blur is passing. Match up the blur with the tee. Now I'm going to let momentum release that way. Oh, yeah. That was perfect. Man, it doesn't get any better than that.
Saw swing.
294 carry right in the center of that club face. You guys, this is very, very important. The more you let the club go, that's what people don't get. It's attached. Where do you want it to go? So if I have a hammer here, I want to bowl over with this, I give it to gravity. I see where gravity's passing. I can see that that's matching up pretty well with the top of the hammer. So if I move in a little bit more, we have a strike. So when you see where the club is passing, what an amazing reference that's going to be for you to match that up with your ball at intermediate point. Now you become the hunter of the fairways instead of the be careful, watch out, make sure you don't go into a disastrous situation, which is a really terrible way to play golf, really. When you don't know where the ball's going to go, you don't know how well you're going to strike it, that really sucks. So this will give you incredibly important references to get consistent center contact. Once we have the ball in a string moving in that direction, and we're striking the center of the face, then we can observe the flight of the ball, and then we can look at, hey, is that club face closed enough at address so that when you come through, it's squared up as you release into the direction of the target? Or are you letting the club release you in that direction? For me, I'm just letting momentum release the tee into a nice somersault, and whatever happens, happens. And then I use that information in the flight, because right now, you look at that 294 carry. For the club speed that I have is fantastic. Look at the ball speed on that is 164. My backspin was 1,780 RPM. My smash was 1.51. That's center punch. And you're going to play some incredible golf and hit a lot of fairways and get into some really good eagle and birdie situations if you can do that, okay? So let's look at what happens when you hit it off the toe or the heel. For many of you, you're thinking about, hey, it feels like I've got it in the center of the face and I keep hitting the toe or the heel. So what we want to do is make a prediction based on that blur. So we see where the blur is passing, right there, bring that in. Now, if I let the blur go to the left side of the ball right there, left side of the tee, for sure, I feel like I'm going to hit that in the toe of the club. So I'm going to go ahead and flick the tee with the outer part of the tape, and let's see what happens. That was right off the toe. You can see how the club face, you can see the little dot that's here on my club is hidden by the ball at impact, and after impact, the center of mass is wrapping itself around the center of that ball. That was so much to the extreme that I couldn't get that gear effect back to the left. So if we do that again, for those of you who like to hit a draw, but you hit it off the toe of the club, that will generally turn into a hook. So I'm going to go for a little draw setup here. I'm going to do the same thing. So it feels like if I let the blur of the club go through the tee, it's going through the toe part of the club. Here we go. There we go. Look at that beautiful extreme draw. And the carry now is 240, right? I got some good ball speed, but you look at the spin is way down, and because I'm hitting it off the toe, I'm getting a big gear effect to the left. Now let's look at what happens if you hit it in the heel. So notice I keep coming back to my ball and intermediate point. I need 2 items for the blur to come through. Now I'm going to match up the inside part of that, strip of tape, and I'm going to let momentum flick the tee with that. That was right off the heel, and that excessively faded to the right. Ball speed was way down, and look at that contact. So what happens, you hit it here on the heel, and it looks like the club head is going to be turning over, but what happens is you get that gear effect that's going to make that ball curve too much to the right. So for many of you, you don't realize that the face of this driver is curved. It actually looks more open than it appears. So it's only the center of that club face right below the strip of tape here that's square with, your grip. That's the only part that's actually square. The toe is actually turned out and the heel is actually turned in. So if you hit it in the heel, it's going to kick it a little bit more to the left so it allows for more fade. And if you hit it on the toe, it's going to kick it a little more to the right, and it's going to cause that gear effect to come back to the left. That's why we call these faces forgiving. So you now have the power to strike the center of that club face. If you want to, control the side spin on the ball, that's going to be for another video. So have a look at my release or how to square up the club video, or better yet, go to wisdomingolfpremium.com and check out all the release videos and my grip videos. So you'll see grip part 2, an important grip update. That important grip update is massive. In the release, you'll see an important release update. They go together. So when you're tracking that arc through the tee to make it deliver in the direction of the target, if your grip club relationship is in order, the ball will go where you're looking, okay? And that's through the ball and intermediate point and not directly with that target. So hope you enjoyed that, and be with us at the Premium channel. It's only $9.95 a month for my lifetime collection of videos. That's over 500 videos. So enjoy that.